It was a quiet Monday morning, and the office hummed with its usual rhythm. Emma had just settled at her desk, sipping her coffee, when the elevator doors opened with a soft ding. And there he was, Mark, her coworker who had left 6 months ago without much explanation. His sudden return made the air feel heavier, charged with an unspoken tension. Emma froze mid-sip, her eyes locking on his. Mark's expression was unreadable, neither angry nor happy, just pensive. He looked around the office as if trying to find something he had lost. The usual chatter faded into the background, leaving only the sound of Emma's heartbeat echoing in her ears. Mark's absence had left a quiet void in the office. He had been the one who always noticed the small things, the missing files, the stressed faces, the coffee machine on the fritz. And now, seeing him back so suddenly, it felt like the routine Emma had built around his absence was being gently shaken. "Emma?" A voice finally broke her trance. It was Linda from accounting, nudging her shoulder. Emma blinked and smiled, trying to mask the shock. Hi," she managed, her voice catching slightly. Mark hadn't noticed her yet. As he walked past, Emma couldn't help but notice the subtle changes. His hair was slightly longer, his suit a little more worn, but his eyes, the same warm, observant eyes, still held that quiet intensity. She wondered what had kept him away all this time. A promotion? A personal matter? Or something more complicated that he wasn't ready to share? The day dragged on, each hour punctuated by the occasional glance Emma stole toward Mark. He was polite, cordial, but distant. Every time their eyes met, a flicker of recognition passed between them, a memory of shared projects and long late nights in the office. Emma felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with curiosity. What had changed during his absence? And more importantly, why did he return so unexpectedly? By lunchtime, she found herself standing near the coffee machine, pretending to check her phone while hoping for a chance to talk. Mark appeared moments later, coffee in hand, and their eyes met again. This time, he gave a small, almost apologetic smile. "You're back," Emma said, her voice lighter than she felt. Mark nodded. "I know, it's sudden. I didn't mean to surprise anyone." His tone was careful, measured. There was something in his expression, a hesitation that Emma couldn't quite place. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Emma noticed how Mark's presence subtly changed the office dynamics. Conversations paused when he entered the room. Laughter became slightly quieter. Even the office plants seemed to stand taller under his gaze. By the time the clock struck 5, Emma found herself alone at her desk, staring at her screen without really seeing it. The question lingered in her mind like a soft whisper. Why did he come back now? And more importantly, what did he want? As she packed up to leave, Mark approached her desk, his hands tucked into his pockets. "Emma, can we talk for a minute?" he asked, his voice almost hesitant. Her heart skipped a beat. She nodded, curious and anxious all at once. Whatever he had to say, she knew it would change the rhythm of her days, and perhaps her understanding of him. The hallway felt unusually long as they walked side by side. Every step brought anticipation. Every glance carried a weight of unspoken words. Emma could feel the past and present colliding in a way that left her both uneasy and strangely hopeful. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Mark stopped near the old water cooler, a place where they had once shared quiet conversations about life and work. He took a deep breath, looking at Emma with an intensity that made her heart flutter. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice low, almost vulnerable. "Something that I should have said a long time ago." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to ask, to know, but at the same time, she feared the answer. And in that moment, the office seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them, standing on the edge of the story that was just beginning. The hallway felt unusually quiet after Mark's words. Emma stood frozen for a moment, her mind racing through 1,000 possibilities. What could he have kept hidden for so long? And why did it matter now, 6 months after he had walked away? Mark shifted his weight, his hands brushing nervously against his pockets. "It's about why I left," he finally said, his voice almost a whisper, "and why I had to come back." Emma nodded, urging him silently to continue. She remembered how Mark had always been the calm one, the one who thought everything through before speaking. Seeing him this way, tense, hesitant, almost fragile, was new. It made her heart ache in a strange, inexplicable way. "I had to deal with some things," Mark said, avoiding her eyes. "Personal matters, things I couldn't handle while working here. I didn't want to involve anyone, especially you." His gaze finally met hers, steady and serious. "I know it must have seemed sudden or even rude, but it wasn't meant that way." Emma felt a mix of relief and confusion. Relief that it wasn't about work, that it wasn't anything she had done. Confusion because she still didn't understand the full story. I didn't expect to return so soon," he continued. "But things are different now. I had to come back, and there's something I need to tell you, something important." Her curiosity mingled with an inexplicable tension. Emma had always admired Mark's honesty, his straightforward nature. But this was different. The way he was looking at her now suggested that the truth he was about to share wasn't simple. "Emma, there were moments when I regretted leaving," Mark confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Moments when I thought about what we had here and what I might have left behind." Emma felt her chest tighten. What did he mean? Their shared projects, the long days, the casual laughter, they had grown close, closer than either had admitted. But Mark had always kept a wall between them, and now that wall seemed to be crumbling. "I shouldn't have left without explaining," he said, his fingers brushing against the edge of his desk for support. "I was afraid of how it might affect you, or how it might change things between us." Emma swallowed hard. She had imagined his return in countless ways, but never like this, so raw, so honest. Her mind drifted back to the late nights they had spent finishing reports together, the quiet encouragements, the shared coffees. All those small moments suddenly felt like pieces of a puzzle she was just beginning to see clearly. "Mark," she began softly, unsure of what words could possibly fit the weight of the moment. I'm glad you're back." His lips curved into a brief, almost hesitant smile. "I'm glad too," he admitted. "But there's more. Something I've been carrying with me, and I think it's time I shared it with you." Emma's heart pounded. The air between them felt charged, heavy with anticipation. She could sense that whatever he was about to reveal would change everything, her understanding of him, of their connection, and maybe even of herself. Mark took a deep breath, his gaze steadying. "The reason I left, it wasn't just personal. There were opportunities I thought I had to chase, paths I had to explore. But in chasing them, I realized something important, something about where I truly belong." Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. His words were deliberate, each one carrying the weight of months of unspoken thoughts. She wanted to ask questions, but a quiet instinct told her to wait, to let him speak. "And I realized," Mark continued, "that what I was looking for wasn't out there, it was right here, with the people I care about, with you." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Her heart felt like it was both racing and standing still at the same time. The connection she had sensed between them all those months ago, the warmth, the trust, it was returning, stronger than ever. She wanted to smile, to laugh, to speak, but all that came out was a soft trembling. "Mark?" He stepped closer, just enough that she could feel the quiet sincerity in his presence. "I didn't want to leave you wondering," he said softly. "I wanted to come back and be honest, fully honest." Emma nodded, unable to look away. Something inside her was shifting, an awareness of feelings she had tried to ignore, buried beneath routine and office chatter. She didn't know exactly what would happen next, but she felt ready to find out. And just as the tension began to ease, the sound of the office door opening made them both turn. Someone had entered, and the timing felt perfect, yet completely disruptive. A familiar voice called out from the hallway, echoing in the otherwise quiet office. "Mark? Emma? Are you guys here?" The sudden interruption left both of them startled, their fragile moment suspended in midair. Emma glanced at Mark,
his expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. The moment had been almost theirs, but now someone else had unknowingly stepped into it, and the question lingered, would they be able to finish what had just begun? The voice in the hallway faded, leaving Emma and Mark standing there, still close but suddenly aware of the office around them. Papers shuffled, phones buzzed, and the quiet hum of computers filled the space once more. Yet for Emma, the moment didn't feel broken. It felt paused, like the universe had held its breath, waiting for what would come next. Mark glanced at her, his expression soft but determined. "We'll have to talk somewhere private," he said quietly. Emma nodded, understanding immediately. They stepped out of the office together, their footsteps echoing softly in the empty corridor. Once they reached the small lounge on the other side of the floor, Mark sank into a chair, and Emma sat across from him.
There was a tense silence at first, filled with anticipation, and a nervous energy neither of them tried to hide. "I've wanted to explain everything since the moment I left," Mark began, his hands resting on his knees. "Leaving wasn't easy. I thought it was the only way to handle what was happening in my life. But the truth is—" He paused, searching her face as if hoping she would understand before he spoke. Emma leaned forward slightly. "The truth?" she echoed softly, her heart beating faster. Mark nodded. "I left because I didn't know how to balance everything: work, family, and my own feelings." His eyes locked with hers, intense but not overwhelming. "And I realize now that leaving didn't solve anything. It only created distance between us. And that was the hardest part." Emma felt her chest tighten. She had suspected that Mark's departure was complicated, but hearing him admit it, so openly, made her heart ache with a mixture of empathy and longing. "I tried to convince myself that I could handle it on my own," he continued, his voice almost breaking. "But every day I was away, I realized how much I had missed, how much I had taken for granted, especially the connection we shared." Emma swallowed, her hands resting on her lap. She remembered the small gestures they had exchanged before he left, the encouraging smiles, the quiet support during long workdays, the moments when no words were needed. It all came rushing back, sharper and warmer than she expected. "Mark," she began softly, "I didn't realize. I noticed things were different, but I didn't know how much it must have weighed on you." He shook his head gently. "I didn't want to burden anyone. Not you, not the team. I thought leaving was easier, but it wasn't. It never was. And now, coming back, I just needed to be honest, with myself and with you." The honesty in his eyes was disarming. Emma felt a surge of emotions: relief, curiosity, and something deeper she couldn't yet name. She wanted to speak, to tell him how much she had felt his absence, how much she had thought about him, yet the right words seemed just out of reach. Finally, Mark leaned back, his expression softening. "I don't expect anything to change overnight. I just needed you to know the truth, and maybe see if there's a chance to start over, even just a little." Emma's breath caught. Start over. The idea seemed both terrifying and thrilling. She had imagined Mark returning in countless ways, but never with this kind of openness, this willingness to confront the past and rebuild something real. I think we can," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I think we should try. Carefully. But yes." Mark's lips curved into a small, relieved smile. "Carefully is perfect," he said softly. "We'll take it one step at a time. No rush, no pressure. Just honesty." For the first time in months, the tension between them eased. The weight of unspoken words, the distance of 6 months, began to dissolve. Emma realized that this conversation, simple and quiet as it was, had changed something fundamental. Yet, even as relief settled in, a new question began to form in her mind. Mark's return was sudden, his honesty refreshing. But why now? What had made him decide that this was the right moment, the right time to confront the past and seek something more? Before she could voice the thought, her phone buzzed sharply on the table. She picked it up, and her heart skipped. The message on the screen was unexpected, one she never anticipated. and one that could complicate everything she was just beginning to feel. Mark leaned over slightly, noticing the change in her expression. "What is it?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. Emma hesitated, her thumb hovering over the screen. The words on the message seemed innocent at first glance, but she felt a chill run down her spine. Something about it hinted at questions she wasn't ready to answer, and decisions she might soon have to make. The lounge felt suddenly colder, and Emma realized that while one chapter of their story was opening, another, more complicated one, was about to begin. Emma stared at her phone, her thumb trembling slightly over the screen. The message was brief, almost casual, but it carried a weight that made her chest tighten. She didn't recognize the sender immediately, and the words themselves seemed harmless, yet somehow she knew they weren't. Mark noticed the shift in her expression. "Emma, what is it?" he asked gently, concern softening the edges of his voice. She hesitated, then handed him the phone. I'm not sure how to feel about this," she admitted. Mark read the message carefully, his brow furrowing. It wasn't threatening or inappropriate, but there was an undertone, a suggestion that something complicated was happening, something Emma hadn't anticipated. "I see," he said finally, looking up at her. "Do you want to talk about it?" Emma nodded slowly. "I think I do, but I don't know where to start. It's confusing, and I didn't expect this right now, not when we're just starting to reconnect." Mark reached out, his hand brushing hers in a reassuring gesture. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." Emma felt a rush of warmth at his words. Despite the sudden complication, she realized she wasn't facing it alone. Mark's presence made the uncertainty feel manageable, even when the message on her phone made everything seem fragile. They sat together in the lounge, phones set aside, and began to talk. Slowly, piece by piece, Emma explained the situation. It involved a misunderstanding at work, a few unexpected complications in a project she was leading, and a message that implied someone knew more than they should. Mark listened intently, his expression unreadable at first, then softening with understanding. "It seems like this caught you off guard," he said, "but I'm glad you're telling me. Secrets have a way of making things feel heavier than they actually are." Emma nodded, feeling the weight of the message begin to lift. "You're right, and I think having you here now, it changes how I handle it. I don't feel as alone." Mark smiled gently. "Good, because you're not alone. Not now, not ever again." For the first time since his return, Emma felt a sense of calm. The tension that had lingered since he walked back into her life began to soften. She realized that no matter what the message meant, no matter what complications might arise, she could face them with Mark by her side. Yet even as they sat together, talking quietly, the subtle hum of the office reminded them that life didn't pause for personal moments. Somewhere beyond the lounge, colleagues moved about their day, oblivious to the quiet intensity unfolding just steps away. And Emma knew that soon she would have to face the world again, this time with Mark by her side. "Emma," Mark said softly, breaking her thoughts, "I know this isn't easy, but I also know that we've been given a chance to rebuild, to start fresh, and to face everything together." Emma looked into his eyes and saw sincerity there. The kind of sincerity that made her believe in second chances, in honesty, and in the quiet strength of connection. "I want that," she admitted. "I want to start fresh, with you." Mark's smile widened, and for a moment, the weight of the message, the complications, and the months of absence seemed to fade. All that mattered was the understanding between them, the shared commitment to face the future together. But just as the moment felt perfect, a soft knock on the lounge door made them both start. "Emma? Mark? Are you in there?" a familiar voice called. Emma's heart skipped. It was someone she hadn't expected to see today, someone who had influence over the situation hinted at by the message. The timing was uncanny, and the presence of this person threatened to undo the fragile calm they had just found. Mark's expression tightened slightly, protective but alert. "Stay calm," he whispered, just enough for Emma to hear. "We'll handle this, together." Emma nodded, taking a deep breath.
She realized that their connection, as strong as it had become in just a few hours, was about to be tested. And while the future felt uncertain, she also understood something vital. No matter what happened, she didn't want to face it without Mark. With that thought, she pushed her fear aside and prepared to step back into the wider world, a world that was suddenly more complicated, but also more full of possibilities than ever before.
And as the lounge door slowly opened, Emma held her breath, ready for whatever came next. The lounge door creaked open, and Emma's heart pounded in her chest. Standing there was Jessica, one of the senior managers, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. Emma felt a flicker of worry. Was this about the message? Was something going to complicate everything they had just begun to rebuild? Mark stood slightly in front of Emma, a protective yet calm presence. "Hi, Jessica," he said evenly, his voice steady. "Is there something we need to discuss?" Jessica hesitated, then spoke carefully. "I just wanted to check on the project. I saw the message Emma received, and I wanted to make sure everything is on track. No one wants any surprises, you know?" Emma felt a wave of relief. It wasn't personal, it wasn't a crisis, it was just work. She exhaled slowly, glancing at Mark, who gave her a reassuring smile. That quiet strength, that calm support, reminded her why she had felt so connected to him all along. "It's all under control," Emma said confidently. "Thanks for checking in." Jessica nodded and stepped back. "Good. I just wanted to make sure. Keep up the great work, both of you." With that, she left, leaving Emma and Mark alone once again. For a moment, they just looked at each other, the tension that had followed the unexpected message finally dissolving. Emma felt her chest lift, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and something deeper she couldn't yet name. "Together," he repeated, and in that single word was a promise of patience, understanding, and shared moments yet to come. The day faded into evening, the golden light spilling across the office floor. Emma and Mark walked back toward their desks, hands still intertwined, feeling a quiet confidence that had eluded them both before. The challenges of work, life, and the unexpected would come, but they would face them side by side. And in that moment, Emma realized something profound. Life could be unpredictable, filled with sudden returns, unexpected messages, and unspoken truths. But sometimes, the most unexpected things, the return of someone you care about, the honesty shared in quiet moments, could lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Mark glanced at her, his expression soft, warm, and full of unspoken promise. "No matter what comes next, we'll handle it. Together," he said. Emma nodded, her heart full, a smile spreading across her face. "Together," she echoed. And as they sat side by side, ready to face whatever the future held, one thing was certain. This time, they were ready, not just to reconnect, but to truly begin anew. The office lights dimmed gently, and for Emma and Mark, the story that had started with a sudden return ended with a quiet, heartfelt beginning, one filled with hope, trust, and the promise of shared tomorrows.